Give me a little intro there, Gomer.
There's no turning back now.
Let's put on the show.
You're listening to the Station 71 podcast. My name is Mario, and this week I'm joined by my co-hosts,
Beth
and Brian.
So we've got a lot of news to catch up on, and a relatively fun topic. I think this is going to be an interesting one. We're going to be talking about the worst Pixar films. So let's dive into our news this week. We've got an update to Trader Sam's menu for the Grog Grotto at Walt Disney World, which could potentially mean that it would be reopening soon. We've got two new items on here. We've got the Headhunter roll and the Shrunken Zombie Head being renamed, it looks like. So this happened prior to Casey's Corner reopening. It looks like it's starting to happen to Grog Grotto. So lots of people are speculating lots of things. How do you guys feel about this?
I mean, I'm excited always for Trader Sam's to reopen.
I didn't find the names. Yeah, that's the most important thing. If this means Trader Sam's is coming back, then cool.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, they're trying to make them more culturally sensitive names, like they're doing with the attraction itself. But I don't really see, I guess, Shrunken Zombie Head renamed to Zombie. So was the shrunken the problem or the head the problem?
It's probably the combination of the two, because isn't that kind of partially the issue with Trader Sam in the attraction is the shrunken head stuff?
Yeah, but zombies aren't real.
Yeah, I don't know.
But I don't care. It has no effect on my life, so I'm not gonna get up in arms about it like I'm sure some people probably will.
Yeah. I just hope that this means that we get to see some, I don't want to give too much away, but some new delivery theater at
I'm always
Trader
in favor of
Sam's.
that.
My biggest worry is just that it feels still too soon for a place that small to reopen, but I'll be hopeful. I feel like when they do reopen, lines are going to be insane.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, they will be.
Yeah, like they're already insane for the limited edition mugs. Like, there's no doubt that this is going to be too long, and they're going to have to. Well, I don't know. They're starting to reopen most of the capacity, so
it's basically just going to be like, go when they open and put your name on the wait list, and then maybe you'll get a seat at some point during the day.
At some point, yeah.
We'll see.
Next things that we have on here, we've got some Christmas news. Disney's Very Merriest After Hours will be replacing the Very Merry Christmas Party this year. We kind of figured this was going to happen with the Halloween offerings being, the way they are. But along with that, we also have that Cinderella's Castle Dreamlights will not be returning this year, as they're a huge part of the holiday celebrations. I don't know. This is interesting.
Like, I get it with the Dreamlights. I think that they're just going to take a year or so off because of the 50th. They're going to have these, other decorations on the castle they don't want to be having to take down. And they don't want to have to worry about the, I guess, projections for the 50th celebration stuff being, I don't know, tampered with by the lights, for lack of a better term, because I feel like it wouldn't look as good with the lights on to try and do projections at the same time,
Yeah.
So I feel like this is a temporary thing. I feel like they will come back eventually.
Yeah, I feel like you're right with that it's got to be partially 50th, partially like, why would we put the effort into doing this if we're not going to have the full Christmas party? It just kind of makes sense. It feels very bizarre. Especially considering like most of the Christmas party is still here, except for like the stage shows and stuff. We kind of that's how we felt about the Halloween party too. Was there you're missing the fireworks, the stage shows, and all that. But the lights feels like a bigger blow than anything that they could have taken away from the Halloween party, for me at least.
Yeah, because I mean, I don't know how you guys feel, but the stage show is like for Christmas is not nearly as big as it is for Halloween, in my opinion. So
not at all.
I mean,
Yeah.
the quality difference.
Yeah, I was not sad to see that wasn't happening.
So I can kind of understand why Disney is, not in a huge rush to try to get that back for Christmas. So yeah, I mean, I think it does kind of suck that the lights aren't going to be there, but I think a lot of just the atmosphere I think of is the biggest part of the Christmas party. So it will be kind of bad that the lights aren't there, but I'm sure all the other atmosphere stuff will be there.
Yeah. But will there be Snope?
Yes,
it looks like there will be.
Snope, right?
It does say snowfall on Main Street, USA.
I'm curious because this list has, just to go over everything, it says holiday highlights include character sightings, Minnie's Wonderful Christmas Time fireworks show, which we kind of figured we were going to get a fireworks show, if anything, after hours access to Magic Kingdom, holiday theme attraction overlay, and Cinderella Castle projections, snowfall on Main Street, holiday treats, themed food and beverage items, holiday themed photo pass opportunities, and then special lighting, music, and more. The lighting is what's tripping me up.
Can we please finally get Haunted Mansion Holiday? Like, I feel like this would be the year.
Yeah, I feel like this would be the year to do it, but that's just so much work for 1 year.
I mean, but they could do it for Halloween and Christmas.
Well, so the biggest issue and the reason we don't get it is because Disney World is the vacation destination.
It's a destination.
Right?
Yeah, okay. Well, I'm sorry. You listen here. This is the one hill I will die on. They could close Haunted Mansion for a little while, and I'm sorry that if this is your once in a lifetime trip and you don't get to go, but I think it would benefit a lot more people than it would hurt.
So this is a funny thing that I agree with you on, but it's funny to me that the Disney parks aren't a museum, but the once in a lifetime vacation destination can't have alterations to a classic attraction because somebody might miss it. That's such a weird divide that Disney
it is. It's very opposing views there.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about Haunted Mansion Holiday.
I just want to see it, man.
That's the thing. Even if I don't like it, who cares? I get to go back to the regular Haunted Mansion and I'll be happy with that. But I won't know until I see it.
Exactly. Just let us have it as a treat.
Discord just crashed on me.
Oh no.
I was just saying I don't know how I feel about Haunted
Mansion. Wait, how are we talking to you?
Oh no, it's back up.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't know how I would feel about Haunted Mansion Holiday in general, but I would be interested to see them do something. Even if honestly, the one thing that confuses me is I feel like they could do an overlay to so many attractions that wouldn't fundamentally change the ride. How many times have they changed Space Mountain in Disneyland and it's been the same attraction, just an overlay?
Yeah.
And I feel like they could do stuff like that for the Christmas party, but I don't know.
They don't do a Small World one at Walt Disney World, right?
No, I don't.
But they do at Disneyland, I think.
I think so.
Well, for God's sake, that's an attraction that we could use an overlay on. Give me a reason to ride it for every once in a while.
Give me a reason to ride that attraction.
But honestly, when they announce attraction overlays, I mean, we're doing the Jingle Cruise. What else are we doing?
They had the cute, well, this is not at Magic Kingdom, obviously, but they had the really cute Living with the Land overlay last year for Christmas.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
Oh, that's right, yeah. But yeah, for this party, it feels kind of cheap to say, attraction overlays when We're really just getting one.
Yeah, unless they haven't announced something yet, which I'm not super optimistic about, but if they say overlays, it has to be at least 2, right?
Right.
That would be my guess. At least more than one.
Can we get the Station 71 lawyer in on this and double check that?
Right.
Where's Al, the grammar police? Get him in here.
Oh my gosh. I feel like there are some that they could do pretty easily, like you guys were saying with Space Mountain. Just like make it Christmas lights and Christmas music. Like, dude, do some Trans-Siberian Orchestra. That would fit
Oh,
perfectly
man.
into
That would
Space
be
Mountain.
Love
Fantastic.
that.
We should do that as a Christmas episode. Design a Christmas overlay for an attraction.
Ooh,
That's a good
I
one.
like
Put it
it.
on the list.
I'm adding it to the list.
So we should probably move on to the next news topic here as well, just so we don't run out of time in the news this week. We have the exciting news that Port Orleans and All Stars will be returning to Walt Disney World. I know we've been waiting for the Port Orleans reopening.
About to
I don't know
say,
about the All-Stars.
I'm more excited about one of these announcements than the other one. But honestly, I think it's very good that the All-Stars are coming back because, for a lot of people, they serve as that, I guess, kind of like, I feel like a lot of people, that's their first experience with, staying on property. And I think you need that lower price point, to be able to.
We get it, Brian. The plebes need somewhere to stay too.
No, I mean, honestly, like when we end up staying, like if we've had a late night or something and we're like, let's stay a night, or if even if not, even when we plan it out sometimes, like All-Star, I've stayed at the All-Star more times than any other resort by far.
I mean,
other than
same.
Fort Wilderness.
And to be completely honest, like you said, they serve their purpose. They have a very good reason to be there. And with prices going up, I mean, you're not using the room that much, so
right, and
it's not that bad of a deal.
And honestly, with the recent refurbs that they've had, they're perfectly fine rooms to stay in, and just as nice as a, I don't know, hotel you'd get up the road. I know it's more expensive because it's on property, but it's not like a bad place to stay. And if you're looking for like a Disney-fied experience, honestly, the All-Stars are the way to go because they have the most Disney intense theming of any resort, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, and yeah, like I feel like so many people badmouth them like it's like they act like it's a Roach Motel that's on, Disney property, and it's not that at all. Like, yeah, if you took that out, like that feels like a very nice mid-tier hotel anywhere off of property.
Yeah, it's just how small they are, I think, is like the big issue. But other than that, they're perfectly nice rooms.
I think the issue with them, like from what I've seen online, is just people, you're the small size. Yeah, that's absolutely part of it. And I also think it's kind of the layout and presentation of the layout. So if you think about it, a lot of the Disney hotels are laid out in the same way. Like the All-Stars can also be kind of compared to like how Port Orleans is laid out because of the rooms facing the balcony and all of them connecting the same way. But the All-Stars are designed more visually like a motel, which people are more inclined to just give a bad name to.
Yeah, that's fair.
It's a weird, because it looks like X, it is X, when I think, honestly, they've got higher standards still.
Yeah.
Definitely.
But that said, Port Orleans is reopening, and we're excited because, favorite resort over here.
Mm-hmm.
And please make this mean that Bob is coming back at some point.
Yes.
Because it's really not Port Orleans without him.
Definitely.
Has there been any talk of any of the other entertainments coming back? Because I feel like that'll be the sign that we should start looking for him to come back.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything about resort entertainers coming back anyway. I know, a lot of the park entertainers did get cut, but several of them got, stayed on, like the Voices of Liberty never left Epcot really.
Yeah, well, they were still doing stuff during COVID.
Right, exactly. So, but as far as resort entertainment goes, I feel like that's probably the final step in this battle against COVID.
But I feel like when we start hearing about it come back, like Bob's got to be the first one, right? I
He's
mean,
got
he's
to.
by far the most popular resort entertainment.
Right.
I don't know if this is like a good sign or anything. But apparently he's also back to performing at Give Kids the World.
Oh.
That is
So
a
that
very good
seems like a
sign.
very good sign. He posted on 2 days ago that he had a performance over the weekend with Give Kids the World. So that feels like it's a good thing. And I know he's
Yes.
still doing he still does his live stream stuff on his Facebook, Bob Jackson, every Sunday.
That
And
dude
it's
is just seriously the best.
well, and the funny thing is, like, he knows that people love his performance, and he never gave it up despite being let go from Disney. Like, I've watched a couple of his live streams. The only thing that is missing is the audience, and
Yeah.
like the people that watch that every Sunday are the people that would be at the River Roost Lounge just doing the shtick along with him because he keeps it
Mhm.
up real great.
Yeah, I was gonna say, the audience is still there doing it. He just can't see them. So
And it's funny because like he is still hamming it up, and it's great. I can't wait for him to come back. That's gonna
I
be
know.
he better be back by the next time I'm at Disney. That's all I'm saying.
I swear, hold me to it. I'm saying it on the air right now. As soon as I hear that Bob's coming back, I am booking a night, at least one night at
Oh,
Riverside, just
same.
to go there and watch him perform because it
Will that
is.
be the Station 71 meetup?
Honestly, I think that's a fantastic meetup.
It
That's a
really
good
would
idea.
be. Yes.
Oh, I would love to just fly down for a day.
It would be worth it. Honestly, I would take a plane ticket and stay at a hotel to see him perform for a night. His show is that
Mhm.
entertaining.
What's absolutely crazy too is I feel like he has the kind of entertainment following where that could feasibly be a thing. Like they could bring him back, announce that he's coming back, and that room would be crowded. There would be people in the hallway at the River Roost Lounge to watch him perform on his first night back. I'm
Oh,
100%
absolutely.
positive of
Mhm.
that.
Yeah, for sure.
So, next thing that we've got on here, I feel like we just talked a lot about the news, and this one's going to go on a little bit too. We have not talked about this, and I am very angry about this, but early theme park entry at Walt Disney World begins October 1st, and extended evening hours are going to be coming to deluxe resort hotel guests. Um, at the time of recording this, basically the way that it's working is extra magic hours are back. Resort hotel guests on any level are allowed to have access to a half hour in the parks prior to entry. Is that correct? I know that was the way they were doing it previously.
Yes.
So it looks like it's that extra half hour in the morning. However, deluxe resort hotel guests will be the only ones allowed the extra evening hours. Thoughts?
Well, the extremely rich people can't be forced to spend more time than they have to with the average park guest, Mario. So this is totally understandable. That's heavy, heavy sarcasm for anybody out there who doesn't know me well enough to know that. Yeah, no, this is just creating the class divide at Disney World further and further, and it's really disheartening to see.
Well, the thing about it for me is that it doesn't even seem like the benefit afforded to the deluxe resort guests is worth the backlash that this is going to cause.
Yeah,
Like an extra half hour at night, what does that
right.
really get you?
One more ride, maybe two.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know. I feel like very few people are going into the parks from, open to close. So I feel like you can just adjust your schedule a little bit and still get, all the things done that you want to do. This is just causing backlash because, like you said, it's bringing up a class divide by giving a benefit to deluxe resort guests, even though the benefit, in my opinion, doesn't seem that great.
Yeah, the part that's absolutely crazy to me, and this is the thing that like I just don't understand, and I know it could potentially change as time goes on, but if I've always said I hate when Disney takes something that was free and makes it a paid premium, but I'm not sure that this is much better. Um because it's not necessarily that, it's making a perk that was available to everyone available to the people that pay more, which I guess is kind of that. Um but the part that gets me is like even the extra magic hours that they're offering is such a slimmed down version of what was originally there, right? Like I remember 2 a.m. in Magic Kingdom. Like that was really a special thing. And I feel like that's just
Mm-hmm.
not there anymore. Like,
I
yeah,
don't
extra
know if it
half
ever
hour.
will be.
Right. And that's what worries me is it feels like is Disney changing in such a way that it's almost not the consumer's best interest? Like this to me says they have to sell the deluxes. Like this is them trying to add an extra perk to the deluxe resorts to put it as a better sell above the others. So you look at the things that are there, and I feel like I had this discussion with Al of like this is what was offered about 5 years ago, and that list only has about 2 things now. And for me, that's like it's such a blow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now that said, I mean, like, this isn't the I'm done with Disney rant. Like, I feel like I give this a lot where I say, I hate when Disney decides they want to make things that were free, not free anymore. And it makes me angry. Like, it does. But this isn't a perk that would ever push me to stay in deluxe, mostly because it's still not the same. I also feel like you said, Beth, what is an extra half hour going to give us? Like, one ride, maybe?
Well,
Yeah.
plus for the price, I mean, now you're paying an extra couple $100 probably to upgrade from a moderate to a deluxe resort for a half hour.
Yeah.
I mean, you place a value on it, and that's hard to justify.
So, and then my other thing with this is too, because this is the conversation that I was having with Al when we were talking about this, is like, does Disney raise prices this year because of what they're taking away? Like the value of the resorts is diminishing, but is the dollar value of the resorts going to go up like it always does? And that's such a weird thing to think about because like if it does go up, then that's a point that I may actually start thinking about looking off property.
Yeah.
I think it's just going to come down to if they can fill the rooms or not. I mean, it's as simple as that. If they're filling the rooms at the price point that they're at, they're going to try to raise them and still fill them. Because if not, they're leaving money on the table. And it's
Yeah.
the
I
sad
mean,
reality, but yeah.
it's a smart business decision, but a bad consumer look. That's what it ultimately boils down to. And I feel like as somebody that watches Disney as much as we do, like we have to acknowledge that like this is the way things are going, yes, but this is also, like you said, they're leaving money on the table if they don't.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate.
It is. And as you guys were talking, I was also thinking about the fact that this 30 minutes, like, if it were, like you said, this is not going to be something that's going to entice people who aren't already staying at a deluxe to upgrade because it's 30 minutes. If it were, 3 hours, 2 hours, maybe that would be, a breaking point for somebody to be like, okay, well, I'll just go, from the moderate to the deluxe or whatever. But I mean, realistically, it's not like they're going to be able to monitor this at all anyway, other than, hey, let me scan your magic band before you get on the attraction. You'll still be able to be in the parks just as long as those people. You may just not be able to ride things, you know?
Right.
I've been in the parks, an hour and a half after they closed just because I wanted to get a picture in front of the castle with nobody behind me.
Yeah.
911, we got her.
When we did Not So Scary a couple years ago, there was a lady that got in line to meet Lotso with her whole family, got all the way up, took their picture. The cast member went to scan their magic band for the photo pass, and I guess she had just realized that they didn't have a wristband on. Mind you, this was like an hour into the party, And she was like, "Oh no, you guys have to leave." Like, they don't regulate those things enough. I feel like this is going to be harder to do too. Mornings make sense, but afternoon, I think you're right. This is going to be impossible to monitor.
Yeah. Unless they start making you have to wear a wristband like they do at the parties, which that would be kind of ridiculous for 30 minutes.
Yeah.
They're not going to do that. There's no way that they're going to be able to enforce this other than you don't get to get on a ride because they scan you at the beginning. So I don't know. I just feel like this is a really minuscule thing for them to be doing to say, hey, we value rich people's money more than yours. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You know what's even weirder too? I didn't put this in here, but I'm looking at the side of WDW Magic, which is where we pulled this article from. And apparently the Swan is included in this. The Swan and Dolphin are included in this.
I still do not understand like the business relationship that goes on with that.
Yeah.
What's weird about that though is like I could see them being included in the early morning stuff, right? Like they're kind of in my mind just lumped in with the Disney resorts. Like they're not the Disney-fied version of a Disney resort, but they're just there.
And with them being like in the same, right next door to Boardwalk and Beach Club and stuff.
Right. Like you would really be in a tight spot to try to monitor people walking through that section. But it says that they can also enjoy the extended evening hours. So I'm wondering if like this is a phased rollout. I don't know.
It might. That would make sense. I mean, like we've been discussing, none of this really seems to make sense from any perspective. So it's possible that Disney is testing the waters with this and trying to collect some data on, if this is getting people to stay and the just general backlash that they hear about it. So maybe...
You know what I'm thinking this is, and this hearing you say that's kind of put this idea in my head. I feel like Disney made money off of the deluxe resorts during the pandemic, right? Because they were really the only ones that were open,
right?
Save for like a few here and there. Now, with the other options opening up, they have to give a benefit to them, and I think this is it.
But do they? I mean, for years, the benefit has been you're paying more because you're staying in a nicer hotel.
Yeah. And because you have more, typically, other than Animal Kingdom Lodge, I believe is the only exception, you have another transportation other than bus.
Yeah.
Right. So, yes, that does make sense. But also, think about the park offerings. They're super slimmed down still. We're still in the, like, Disney Light version that we've got for COVID for most of those things. And even the transportation thing, like the monorail's still down at the Poly, so that's kind of out. Like I guess you could walk over to the TTC and take a boat and do all of those transportations, but as a resort selling point, tacking on extra evening hours kind of makes that price tag seem a little more justifiable. I don't know. I'm trying to think of ways to look at this that makes sense from that perspective, but I'm still struggling to figure it out.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. We might be missing something, but it does not make sense.
Yeah. I would be interested to see if they start to roll out other hotels, depending on, like you said, if they're selling or not. Like, this should not be surprising to anybody, but there is a group on Facebook for Port Orleans, Riverside, and French Quarter. And when the announcement went up that they were open for reservations again, I could not tell you how many people switched over to there. So people obviously have their choice of hotels. I think maybe the perks are just they need to do something to the deluxes because they're afraid people are going to spend less because they can.
Maybe.
On a side note, you guys, we got to stop talking about how good a value Port Orleans is because then they're going to start doing
gonna make it
stuff to make it more expensive for us to stay there. Yeah, man, I hate that place.
On a real note though, I have to appreciate the people that actually I know we love that resort, but we do not love the resort as much as those people in that Facebook group. They had found out before it even opened when it was going to open because people were driving by it every day and they noticed when the
my
landscapers
God.
came out.
Wow.
That's hilarious.
Like
That's some next level dedication.
I kid you not, like just to maybe this does not make it into the episode, maybe it does, I don't know. But I kid you not, it started as somebody made a post that was like, hey, the groundskeepers have cut the bush in front of the Port Orleans sign. I drove by it today and I noticed that it was different than it was 2 weeks ago. And I was like, wait,
Wow.
what? And then the next day it was somebody found it on hotels.com. They found the like listing had changed. Like somebody had looked it up, found that the listing had changed on hotels.com. And then there was another thing that changed. And like it's a wild place. I feel like in the last year, I've learned that people are just about as dedicated to Port Orleans as they are the campgrounds.
Apparently.
I mean,
I'm going to see if I can find these and just send them to you. So
I can understand it. I don't think I would go that deep into the fandom, but I understand it.
One of my favorite things, if you haven't guessed from this show already, is diving too far into fandoms I probably shouldn't be. Anyway, let's talk about our we've got some minor housekeeping. So just a couple things that we want to go over prior to the start of the episode is well, let me back that up. I forgot about the link in here. But after all of that news, before we dive into our housekeeping and our other discussion for this week, as always, if you want to see any of these links that we discussed, you can head over to station71podcast.com for all of our show notes, all of our links to all of our social media, and pretty much everything else. It's been a while since we've plugged the website, but there's lots of good stuff over there. And on top of that, I also want to plug that you can send us an email at station71podcast@gmail.com. We haven't gotten emails in a while, and one thing I want to start doing is answering listener questions on the show again and doing topics that you guys suggest because those seem to be the ones that we have the most fun with. So if you've got anything you want to hear us talk about, any questions about your Disney trips, anything that you think that we can help you out with, feel free to shoot us an email.
Yeah, and I know we push a lot of our other social medias, but the email one's kind of fun because you don't know who's going to respond to you.
Yes.
So you kind of get to roll the dice and see who gets to it first. Trying to drum it up for you here.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the other cool thing, I think, we talk about our Discord a lot, which is great because we do have that interaction with a lot of our our listeners, and it's nice. But the only thing that I will say about email is it gives us a chance to kind of make listeners a part of the show in a way, because you send in your topics, you send in your your questions or anything that you want us to talk about, and we usually try to read them and give our thoughts and feedback. So it gives us kind of more of a freeform platform to talk about things, which is nice.
Yeah. And plus, just like the Discord moves so quick, it's possible stuff gets passed over. So if there's something like specific you want to suggest or ask us a really specific question on that we can help you out with, like the email would be a good way to do that because it's there for us to see and it doesn't get buried within a discussion with, 20 to 30 other people.
One thing that I have always kind of really wanted to do with our email that maybe if people start sending us more stuff, we can also kind of do. I've always wanted to do just an episode of listener questions where we help people plan trips and we help people figure things out. I think we have the experience to do so. We just never have plugged in the email in a way that, you can expect that to come in. So again, that's station71podcast@gmail.com.
Or if you just want to hear, ask us about funny stories on our trips or get to know us better.
Yeah. I think, like I said, those are the ones that we enjoy the most. I speak for everyone on that one, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Cool. So other housekeeping stuff, do we want to go over all of that we kind of...
Did you guys announce the live stream?
We did not. The only thing I went over was the links and the email. So if you want to announce the live stream, go right ahead.
Okay, let me make sure I got the right date. Okay. So make sure that you guys also tune in for our 4th anniversary live stream.
4 years already.
I know. Crazy how time flies. So we're going to be celebrating at 8 p.m. on July 29th, which is a Thursday. So we hope that you guys can join us. We're going to be playing some games and taking any questions or things you guys want us to talk about. And we're also going to have some pretty cool prizes, including some stuff from our Redbubble store with our specially designed merch that 2 of our wonderful listeners designed for us in our contest we had a few months ago.
Yeah. I love that merch too, by the way.
It's great.
It's so fun to finally at 4 years have merch.
I love just the sheer ridiculous amount of items that you can put it on too. Like,
yeah, man.
I
want
don't.
a phone case.
If you want a shower
baby
curtain,
onesie.
yeah, we actually bought a baby onesie. But yeah, if anybody right now, I don't run the website, so I don't know how to do this, but I'll debate it with the other co-hosts and we'll get it worked out. But if you buy a Station 71 shower curtain and send us a picture of it hanging up, we'll put it on the website. I don't know how we'll do it, but we'll do it.
Can totally make a page for. I'll see if there's a way to make a plugin to plug the merchandise onto our website, but I will totally make a page of just people with our merchandise if people want to send us pictures of that.
Please do, and the more ridiculous, the better.
Absolutely.
We love to see it.
Yeah, so our topic this week is worst Pixar movies. Top 3, I think, was what we decided, because there's not a lot that we could be doing, and this is going to be a very hard topic. So, yeah.
Yeah. So Laz actually suggested this topic to me, and obviously I then brought it to you guys because he thought it would be interesting because Pixar has so many good movies and doesn't really have a whole lot of flops like Disney animation has in the past, that it would be a challenging episode to see what we thought were the worst ones. Not that they're bad, just we got to pick the worst of a good bunch. Yeah. And we did have the one stipulation that a Cars movie or Cars franchise could only take up one of the 3 slots.
Love how we made a rule for that, so you know that one's on everybody's list.
Well, yeah.
That was my list, to be frank.
Yeah, Mario's like Cars 2, Cars 3, end of list.
Yeah, so I guess I can start off with my number 3. Are we going 3, 2, 1?
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm gonna throw it out now. And I'm gonna say Cars in general, my number 3. I'm not a fan of the franchise. I think Cars 1 at least was different enough, but that's definitely the
So you're saying the franchise is your number 3?
Yeah.
You think that there are movies worse? Okay, we'll get into it.
I think there are definitely movies that are worse, and I'm being fair in the sense of I think Cars 1 was a decent movie. The premise of Cars was interesting enough, but I think the reason I don't like Cars is because it's the pinnacle of Disney milking something for too long.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's its downfall. I think Cars 2 is probably the worst out of all of them, but I don't think I've even watched Cars 3 all the way through. And I think that says a lot for this franchise in general. But
I'm in that exact same boat. Cars 2 was so bad that it made me not have interest in Cars 3.
So wait, am I the only one who's seen Cars 3?
I mean, I don't think I've sat down focused on it. It's been on in the background while I've done something, but yeah.
Wow. Well, I'm going to tell you guys this, and this may be a shock. The first Cars is not in my bottom 3.
Wow.
I think that it's, like you said, it was an interesting enough concept to stand on its own. And then, it went a little too far. Disney got money hungry, as they always do. And the subsequent films were definitely not, in my opinion, as good as the first one. But
And I think overall, like my whole thing on it, and I know that this is like I can't fault Pixar for Disney's mistakes, but Disney definitely wanted this franchise to just keep going. And
mhm.
that was very apparent when Disney Toon Studios released Planes.
Yes.
So that's my stance here.
Now, I will say, before we continue to dump on the Cars franchise, that we got a lot of really interesting conspiracy theories from these films.
Yes, I've
And
heard
and
that
we should appreciate them solely for that, if nothing else. And I think that we need to do a whole Patreon side plot episode on those, because Laz and I went through and watched all 3 Cars movies in preparation for this episode, and I feel like we got some really interesting tea to spill.
Nice. We should bring Laz on for that.
I'll ask him, yeah. I know we talked a little bit about it in a Patreon post-show or pre-show at some point. I think we had like a whole Pixar, like we talked about like the Pixar universe and how the films could be connected or whatever. But
Yeah.
as we were watching, we were like taking notes about like, man, this is going to be crazy to talk about later. So I'm interested in doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's
So-
everybody else's number 3s.
My number 3, I feel like, is going to be a hot take. We're going number 3 as in the
Not
least
Best
bad.
of the worst. Yeah.
The best of the worst. Okay. My number 3 best of the worst is Toy Story 4.
That was mine as well.
Okay,
That's
good. I
fair.
thought it was going to be
Yeah.
a hot take. It was such an obvious cash in, and no one wanted it to end the way that it did.
Right. And the thing that gets me is that, like, if you take Toy Story 4 and, like, watch that movie on its own, it's not a bad movie. It's entertaining. It's got a lot of the characters that you know and love and everything. But, like, the Toy Story trilogy was buttoned up so
Yes.
nicely. Boom. There we go. It's beautiful. Andy gives the toys to Bonnie. What a touching way to just put a bow on it. And it's
Not
like,
a dry eye in the house.
yeah. And then it's like, oh, hang on. We need some more money from this franchise.
And it's tough to follow such an emotionally impacting movie like Toy Story 3 with something and try to make it emotionally impacting, because it's like, bro, no, we already all thought that all of our friends were going to die in a furnace. It doesn't get
Yeah.
more emotional than that.
You know, it's like they
Yeah.
say every time you come out with this sequel, you have to raise the stakes, and it's like they didn't do that with Toy Story 4. You know,
Mhm.
it's just like it was just another toys are on another adventure, and it just like it's not a bad movie, but it takes away so much of what the original trilogy was.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's the like biggest downfall of it. Like, I don't know. I think Pixar tried really hard to make the franchise carry on in such a weird way. Like, they tried to keep going with like the shorts and all the other little things that they did for Disney Plus that definitely wouldn't have been possible without Toy Story 4. Like, nobody was asking for this, but Forky Asks a Question would not have been possible without that movie. And like the lamp life thing that they did was cute. Like, those things feel like they were, the product of Toy Story 4 existing, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I feel like Forky was one of the few things I really enjoyed about Toy Story 4. But as much as I liked him as a character in that, I did not care for Forky Asks a Question at all.
I don't think anybody did. That's why it's not it's not still going.
Yeah, which I thought was really unfortunate, because I thought it could have been really cute and funny. But
Yeah.
all right, so
Number
then
2.
Mario, you're number 2, because me and Brian had the same number 3.
So I feel like this list is gonna start getting very similar. My number 2 is Bug's Life.
Really?
Yeah, I had a hard time placing a movie in this position, but I think in the spectrum of just Pixar missteps, A Bug's Life is one that's pretty obvious. I mean, my number 1 is probably the most obvious of all of the missteps.
I am
But
really intrigued if Cars is your number 3.
What's funny, and I know that this is kind of getting ahead. I think I make fun of Cars a lot. Like I genuinely do not like those movies as a whole, but I think just from a critical eye, and I know that I say this a lot and everybody makes fun of it, the movies that I have above Cars are arguably worse movies, but that doesn't mean they're not enjoyable to watch.
Right, which I feel like was the whole challenge with this topic, is that honestly, all of the movies I put on my bottom 3 list is like they're not bad. I don't think any of them are actually terrible movies like, on the same level as Country Bears or Artemis Fowl as we have discussed.
No, not at all.
But they're the worst of the best. Pixar has this formula that they've been dishing out for a while now, and I feel like what's really interesting about my list is that I feel like a lot of them are more recent films because they're getting so predictable,
Yeah.
But they have the formula because the formula works. It makes them money and has made them successful. But
yeah, and I think so. Here's my reasoning for why A Bug's Life is on my number 2. I think the unfortunate thing that A Bug's Life has going for it, and this is maybe just me remembering when it came out, is that the same year DreamWorks did Ants, and we've had this whole issue with other companies doing the same movie as Disney multiple times and either it not coming out, like that movie that was supposed to be like, I think Ringo or Rango or
Rio.
whatever.
Oh,
Yeah, Rio.
This is a whole thing, though.
Right, and
This
that's
was
what I
a
mean.
Jeffrey Katzenberger thing. Like this was intentional.
Yeah, no, and that's
Ants
what I
in
mean.
A Bug's Life.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. I think is unfortunate about it because if this movie came out on its own, I think it would have had a better chance. And I also think the unfortunate thing of it is the time frame that this comes out. Like in a whole, look at all the other movies that Pixar puts out, right? Like Toy Story, the first one, that's a classic, no matter which way you look at it. And then after that, you've got Incredibles, Monsters Inc., Finding Nemo. Like A Bug's Life is just not top tier by any means compared to any of those.
I mean, I agree. It's not on that same tier, but it's like it's the second movie that Pixar came out with. They hit a home run with Toy Story, and it was a bit of a step back. But I don't know. I mean, just my personal opinion. I really enjoy A Bug's Life. I think it's solid mid-tier Pixar for me.
Yeah.
There is another movie that I would have felt comfortable putting here that I pulled off of my list for other reasons. So I'm interested to see if it makes either of your lists.
Okay.
All right. Well, my number 2 is Monsters University.
Really?
Yes, and I'll tell you why. Because this to me also felt like another cash in the same vein as like Toy Story 4. It's like the story didn't need to be told, but they did it anyway. And I don't really feel like it added a whole lot to the Monsters universe because there's never really anything at stake. The whole concept, like the big plot of the film is that they get kicked out of the college program for screamers or whatever, the scary people, and then they have to compete in this fraternity challenge, and if they win then they get to go back into the program, and if they lose then they get kicked out of school. And it's like, well, it doesn't really matter if they win or lose because we know they're going to become successful in the future. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's very low stakes.
Right. It's like there's not a whole lot of tension being able to be built because we already know what happens in the future, which I feel like is probably a problem that a lot of prequels end up facing and having to try and address. I just feel like this didn't really do that successfully, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, I think it's like an enjoyable, fun movie to watch. And I know this seems like a really nitpicky thing, but I hate that, like, canonically it doesn't line up with Monsters Inc. Like, that bugs me. And I get it's like, okay, it's a family movie franchise. It's not that big a deal, but it also it's like it shouldn't be to most viewers, but like it should be a big deal to the people that wrote the script, you know? So
Yeah.
when they're willing to overlook stuff like that, it's just I don't know. It does take me out of it a bit.
I mean, I think it's still a cute and fun movie.
Oh yeah, I mean, I had a good time with it. It's just I don't feel like it's up to par with a lot of other Pixar films. Obviously, this is why it's on the bottom of my list.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
So what's your number 2, Ryan?
My number 2 is Brave. And
interesting.
yeah, I feel like all of mine are kind of like a go with me here because again, I don't think Brave is a really bad or you know, there's nothing wrong with it, but when I look at it compared to other Pixar movies and especially up to that point, I mean, the cool thing and I think what most people love about Pixar movies is they are trying for a pretty abstract concept in each of the movies and sometimes it works out and sometimes it doesn't, but at least you say, hey, look, they tried to, you know, anthropomorphize a car or fish or monsters or toys. You know, it's like there's some cool concept that they worked with, and whether or not it worked, it showed that they were trying. And Brave felt to me like Pixar saying, hey, we're basically going to go the Disney route. We kind of know this formula that works, and we're just going to make a movie. It just didn't really feel like a high effort picture, in my opinion. And like I've seen it 1 or 2 times, and I honestly cannot tell you much about what happens in that movie, which I think speaks a lot to just, you know, how well it's able to hold attention. And I don't know. Again, it's not a terrible movie, but as far as Pixar movies go, it's near the bottom for me.
Interesting. I don't disagree with your reasoning. I think I personally like Brave because it's, you know, I don't know, strong, independent woman story and magic and weird stuff, you know, but I can totally see why it wouldn't resonate with a lot of people. And I do completely agree in the sense that, like you were saying, this feels more like a Disney movie than a Pixar movie for sure.
And you know, obviously they were trying to go with this strong, more independent female lead, which is awesome. But at the end of the day, you still have to build an entertaining movie around it, you know. And I feel like that's where they really missed the mark.
So, I feel like that also kind of ties into my number 1, which I guess I'm gonna steal the moment to segue into this. But when I think Pixar, right? I think good storytelling. I think like memorable journey. I think like all of these really great vehicles that they've used in terms of like telling the story, making it visually appealing, and just all around like just something that's going to stick in your memory no matter when you see it. And for me, I think the easiest way to do that is by making a movie that we've already seen before. Any guesses on what my number 1 is?
I don't know, but I hope it's not gonna make me angry.
My number 1 is The Good Dinosaur.
Ah.
I think that movie is fine, but it's not Pixar. Especially because it's The Lion King. And that's what gets me angry every time I watch it is I watch this movie and it's just a not good version of The Lion King.
Damn, that's totally accurate. And I've been kind of like a Good Dinosaur apologist since it came out. Like I thoroughly enjoyed it, but now that you say that, yeah, it is. Wow.
And that's like
I really
like
feel
movie.
like it is a version of The Lion King. Like it definitely has some similarities, but like at the end of the day, I feel like Lion King is, you know, the prodigal son returns and takes back the throne from the evil people, you know, but this one is you have these two contrasting You have the dinosaurs and the humans, and how do they work? Like, how do they end up, I don't know, making things okay again? There's not really a villain in this. Except, well, I guess you can say that there's those, velociraptors or whatever that are kind of the villains, but there's not like a big baddie like
But
Scar.
Hear me out. What is the one thing that you remember from that movie? Like, just off the top of your head. There isn't
that pterodactyl
scene-
eating that thing.
Oh no, I was thinking
Oh
about
no,
the
I
scene
was
where they
thinking the
like
scene
basically
where they
take acid.
definitely did psychedelics and did not eat fermented fruit. Yes,
Like,
absolutely.
That's the only thing that I feel like I remember from that movie.
I mean,
And
it's the best part of the
It is,
movie.
but none of that ties into it being a good movie. It's just a funny scene.
Come on, Mario, this is very progressive, putting psychedelics into a Pixar film, okay?
I guess.
No, and I feel you. I mean, I also, like Brian said, have been a Good Dinosaur apologist, and I really genuinely enjoy this movie a lot. I feel like it hits the right emotional notes and has, a nice, it's like a nice buddy comedy / drama, unlikely friends type of story, which I'm a sucker for. So
Yeah.
it's, it could just be my personal preferences, but
I just think in a vacuum it doesn't feel Pixar, which is unfortunate.
I could agree with that. I feel like this could definitely be, more Disney feeling than Pixar feeling.
Yeah.
Kind of like Brian was saying with Brave.
Yeah.
I'm still interested to see if the one that I wanted to sub out for number 2 is on either of your lists. So what is your number 2, Beth?
Well, my number 1.
Or number 1, yeah.
So since we could only use one slot, I'm using it for Cars 2 and 3 combined.
Gotcha.
But I will say Cars 2, I don't think was necessarily a better movie than Cars 3, but I was much more entertained by it. I feel like it was really weird, and somebody at Pixar wanted to make a spy movie at the same time as they were discussing a Cars sequel, and they're like, why don't we just make it both?
I also think the other thing that like Cars 2 has going for it that Cars 3 probably doesn't is like the burnout on the franchise. Because like the same could be said about like most of the later Pirates of the Caribbean movies that like, yeah, they were good, but they're not the first one.
I mean, but it's like you can say that about most movie franchises, I feel like.
Yeah, I guess it's fair.
Laz wants to come on and say something about Cars.
Oh no.
Ooh, yeah.
So anyway, Laz is not going to come on, but he wanted me to relay his message.
Okay.
He says that when Pixar made Cars, they didn't expect for it to blow up as much as it did. That all the little boys and all the kids had Cars shirts and toys and action figures and whatever. And they're like, all right, we got to fast track this Cars 2 thing. And they were already in the middle of writing a spy movie. So they're like, all right, let's just make it Cars. And then Cars 3 is the actual Cars 2.
I subscribe to that.
It does feel more like Cars 3 was supposed to be the second one, but that they rushed to get Cars 2 out, so that's why it's so weird and doesn't actually feel like a sequel. Because like Cars 2 is like I genuinely had a really good time with it. That one I feel like brought up the most questions about the Cars universe for me because there was a whole lot of straight up like car murders and the car pope and the car like mobs and stuff. But it also was like, so Doc Hudson died and they just like whoosh, like breezed over it like, man, I sure do miss Doc. Anyway, we're going to Tokyo or whatever. I was like, I really would have liked to seen that more fleshed out a little bit. And then they didn't even do that in Cars 3 when they had every opportunity to talk more about him. They're like, well, let's just go talk to his mentor and briefly mention him a couple of times.
Yeah.
We didn't get enough closure with Doc for as big a character as he was in the first one. And I know that they had to pass the mantle at some point, but I feel like the way that it went down just felt like rushed and weird and not as touching as it could have been. Which I know you guys said that you don't really remember Cars 3, so I'll remind you in case you want to know the plot, is that basically Lightning McQueen's like got the like his sponsors, Rusty's, sold the business to this new fancy like businessman guy, and he's like, hey, so basically you're gonna be my merchandising cow from now on because you're too old to be racing. Like everybody else is racing way faster than you. You can't compete.
This checks out.
And he's like, all right, well, give me this one last race. And if I lose, I'll be your merchandising cow, basically, your milk money out of me as much as you want. But if I win, then I get to decide when I'm done racing. And so then he trains with this trainer, Cruz Ramirez, this, I don't know, Latina Spitfire kind of trainer gal who always wanted to be a racer herself. And then the big race comes and he's doing pretty good, but it's just not cutting it. So he goes into the pit and he's like, all right, Cruz, you got to finish this race up for me because you're a lot faster than me. She's like, I'm not a racer, I'm a trainer. And he's like, you are a racer. You proved that to me when we went to that big monster truck rally a couple days ago. And so she finishes the race for him and ends up winning. And then he still decides to quit racing. It just felt like, how do we end the movie quickly and give us a new character to keep going?
Yeah, I get that.
Which, that's why I like Cars 3 less than Cars 2, which I feel like is not a super common opinion.
It is kind of a hot take. When I was looking at these, a lot of the reviews for Cars 3 was, well, it's not Cars 2, so that's a good thing.
And like I said, I'm not saying Cars 2 is like an amazing movie or anything, but it was like super entertaining, and we were just like kind of intrigued at this whole gritty, dark side of the Cars universe,
Yeah, there's also
they had like mercenaries in Cars 2.
Oh, I don't remember that.
I mean, basically, they're like taking cars out with this technology that basically a Nazi invented, is what they imply heavily. It's just, I don't know. It felt really weird and gritty, and I kind of liked it because of that. So, anyway, that's my hot take. Brian, what's your number one?
All right, my number one is Up.
Oh.
All right,
what?
goodbye, good night.
No, it's the Cars franchise. It's the.
Oh my god! I thought you were serious for a second. I was like, you gotta talk your way out of this one.
No. Yeah. Cars. Honestly, I'm not even that big of a fan of the first one. The first one, I still like. Who is the bad guy in Cars? Like
Nick Hicks.
He's just another dude racing. Like, and he's not even in the movie, but for like 5 minutes.
But he's rude and
he's
douchebag, basically.
He's rude. He's the bad guy of the movie because he's rude. I don't know.
He's not a big villain. I'll agree with you on that.
I don't know. It's just like.
And he steals Lightning's catchphrase.
It's okay. It's.
Kachika.
But like, I don't know. Like, I'm into Cars, and it seems like they were trying to get by on doing a bunch of like car puns and stuff, and it's like, okay, it holds for the first one, whatever. And then, like you said, we start getting into, there's this expanded universe. We have a car pope. We have potential car Nazis. Like, how deep does this go? And then
we don't need to dive down this rabbit hole again.
Exactly, but that's my
Yeah.
point.
We're going to though. We're doing a post show or an episode about this on the Patreon.
God. Deep dive.
Like I think using Owen Wilson as a voice actor, like he kind of loses a lot of his charisma, and
Ciao.
I, I
You
don't
know,
know. It seemed like he was phoning it in a lot. Yeah.
I do have another maybe hot take, but probably not. I think most people, I don't know. Sorry out there if you are a huge fan of Mater, but I
Yeah,
feel
how
like
did we not talk about him?
he takes a lot away from the franchise in a lot of ways, and I feel like Cars 2 was all about him, and I feel like it was the most entertaining that he's been. And like he's a dumb, stupid tow truck, basically. You know, a redneck is his stereotype, but he ends up like fumbling his way into greatness, which I thought was really funny, like endearing in a way. Which in the other two movies, he's just like a bumbling idiot with nothing to offer.
yeah.
Well, the thing that I mean, if you enjoy him, like that's fine. You know, that's just like an opinion thing. But it annoys me so much when like franchises do this. They have a kind of like bumbling or funny side character, and then the next movie they decide to make it about them or like put them in so much of it, and it's I don't know. It didn't work for me like it doesn't in a lot of movies. It's like there's a reason they were a side character. You know, it's like you're too goofy or I like again, this is God, it feels so stupid analyzing some of these movies to this extent, but it's like, I mean, okay, Mater's a international spy. Like, I'm not worried about Mater dying. You know, like I don't
There's
the
no stakes on that.
there's no
Yeah.
stakes. He's like, one, he's not going to, and two, it's like he's such a bumbling idiot. It's like you can't like be worried about him. So I don't know. The whole franchise got way out of hand, and Cars 2 is a travesty. And yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I said, I didn't think it was a great movie, but I found it incredibly entertaining to watch the events transpire.
You know, not to derail this Cars conversation, but you know what my Pixar hot take is that kind of ties into this discussion? I
What?
really hate when, well, I guess not really a hot take, but I really hate when Pixar movies don't feel like Pixar, and I feel like that was kind of evident in me throwing the Good Dinosaur out there. But the one that was almost my number 2 is Onward, just because that does not feel like a Pixar movie either.
I thought somebody was going to bring that up, and I completely agree with you that Onward does not feel like a Pixar
It's a
movie.
good
But
movie. Don't
yeah,
get me
that's the
wrong. It's
thing.
just
DreamWorks.
Yeah,
it does. It
It's
really
not
has a
even
DreamWorks
Disney, it's
vibe.
DreamWorks. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which Onward was in a very close running for third place on mine. So I feel you on that.
Like I wanted to
Mhm.
say that part of the reason I don't like Onward is because they really pushed the voice actors, like Pratt and Tom Holland. They were hot items coming off of Infinity War and Endgame. But also, like, how many times has Pixar used notable actors as voice actors, or even Disney for that matter, and it's worked? So it's
Yeah.
like I can't even blame it on that. It was just not. It didn't feel like the standard.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, you get that. And I think one reason that I can kind of overlook it a little bit too is it's like, that was the year that they did two movies. And I think, I don't know, like going into it, I kind of felt like, okay, well, this is going to be like, I hate to say it, but it's like Onward's going to be kind of the B movie. And then Soul
Yeah.
coming out at the end of the year is going to be like the actual big Pixar movie of the year. And
Soul was so good.
yeah.
That
So, I
would be in
mean,
my top if we did top. That would definitely be up in my top.
mhm.
And another thing I think that like you said that these movies both came out in 2020 is that Onward, and I'm not saying by any means that they shouldn't do stories that not everyone can relate to, because I absolutely think that they should. But I feel like Soul was much more relatable to a wider audience, because Onward is this story of like trying to meet the dad that died before you were born, or like shortly after you were born. And it's a really heartwarming and touching story and has a really good message, and I love it for that. But it just didn't speak to me the way that Soul did, which is just like about trying to find your purpose in life, basically, which I feel like almost everybody can relate to that.
Yeah, it's a very universal theme to go with.
So, yeah.
So I think we've talked for long enough. You guys good to wrap this week up?
I want one more really quick thing to see if y'all have something like this, but is there a part of a really good Pixar movie that you do not like? Like, I'm thinking of something very specific, but it kind of takes me out of it to a certain extent when I watch it.
Hearing you say that, I'm not sure that I do, but I'm interested what yours is.
I absolutely hate the live action parts of WALL-E. I don't know why. I can't explain it, but it's like I'm in this, this universe. I've bought into it. Like the suspension of disbelief is there, and then all of a sudden there's a real actor, and it bugs me so much. I don't understand the artistic choice to do that, but WALL-E
that's a really interesting point that I honestly never really thought about, but I could totally see why that would be, like world breaking. It's a really weird choice that they made. You're right. I wonder what the thought process was there.
Yeah, no idea. But WALL-E's incredible otherwise, so I can overlook it.
Yes.
Yeah.
WALL-E's in my top 3 for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe one day we'll do top 3.
Well, I gotta be honest with you guys, and we can stop recording at this point if you want to. I made a whole list to try and figure out what exactly my favorite to least favorite were. So before I watched the Cars trilogy, just so I could have like an objective place to start.
Oh, I don't even want to think about that because we'll be here for another like 3 hours if I were to try.
Oh yeah, no.
Out. This is
I'm not saying we should list it out, but I was just saying that was my method of how I got to the point that I did with my choices.
Please stand clear of the doors. Por favor, manténganse alejado de las puertas.